Hey everybody and welcome. Today I want to take a trip back in time to the year 1995, where the internet was in its infancy and would not yet become the infantile desecration that it is today, for better or for worse. You know, we have a lot at our fingertips, but we also have a lot at our fingertips. So it's a simpler time where we could all collectively get behind an idea, and that idea would be to hack the planet.
Welcome to our show, Hack the Planet. Hack the Planet!
Hey everybody, I'm Chris and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be discussing the film Hackers. So, Hackers recently came out on 4K and we got this great steelbook from Shout Factory. It was exclusive to Best Buy, so I picked it up and I decided, you know what? I remember loving Hackers a lot when I was a teenager. I was really into computers as a kid, so for me, the hacking world was this gold mine of information and was just cool. And so Hackers is that set in 1995 with a lot of rollerblading and a lot of computer generated inside computer happenings. So I want to talk about the film today, and I watched it again, and I have to say I unabashedly love this movie so much. I know it is very cringy, I know it's very corny, it's very of its time, and you know, that is a product of what I love about it. As a kid who grew up in the 90s and was surrounded by the weirdness that was the 90s, a era that I don't think we'll ever be able to replicate, and so watching these films kind of gives me a very nostalgic take on my childhood, and so watching Hackers is fun. It's silly, it's stupid, but it is amazing, and I love every minute of it, even the rollerblading. So our plot revolves around us starting out with the FBI raiding a house, and we don't yet know who this is, but it turns out that this is Dade Murphy, our main character, played by Johnny Lee Miller, who is very stoic, and you might say his acting is bad, but I feel it's very intentional. He is supposed to be this, like, you know, excised person from the world. He's been off the internet for over 7 years as a child until he's 18. He's not even allowed to use a phone based on his probation. So we've got this kid who is a genius hacker who is basically cut off from the entire world. So his seclusion has led to him kind of being off a little bit, but not in a bad way. I really do kind of like his very to-the-point directness that you kind of get in this film. And then we're followed up by him going on trial as a young child for hacking basically Wall Street and taking down a bunch of stuff, 1507 to be exact, that we later find out. And so we pick up basically where he is 18 now. He gets on his computer for the first time. He starts hacking into everything. Of course he does, because, you know, once a hacker, always a hacker, you know, is what I always say. So anyway, we follow them along, and he is now having to move because his parents have gotten a divorce. He went with his mother, and now they're moving to the great city of New York, where no one ever sleeps, as the mother does state in this film. And this is where we meet our cast of hackers. We've got Matthew Willard as serial killer. We've got Angelina Jolie as Kate / Acid Burn, and Johnny Lee Miller plays Dade Murphy as Zero Cool / Crash Override, or Crash Burn as they later become. We've got Lord Mason as Lord Nikon. And then we've got Randy Santiago as the Phantom Freak. And then we've also got Fisher Stevens playing our titular bad guy here as the Plague. So this is a time when I think your anonymousness on the internet was beginning to kind of spark something in people where they're like, oh, people actually know who I am, so we've got to create these handles. Something that is still alive today. As even last year, as early as of last year, YouTube went to this handle mentality. That is what Twitter is, or X. That is what all of these things are. You are a handle more so than a person, and I think that's more evident today than it ever has been. The fact that when you're on the internet, and when other people are on the internet, we don't see people as human beings. We see them as just text walls or just something that we can talk at, and there are no repercussions or there are no emotions behind those people. There are no physical beings behind these words, and I think that is the detriment that has befallen the internet as its whole, is that we just can, anonymously say shit to anyone, and it doesn't even have to be true. We can be what we want and who we want, portray things, even in YouTube. We can become something more than what we are. If we've got a terrible job, we could become something different. Even for me, I love talking about films, but this is so different than what I have to be in the real world, where I have to have a job and talk to people and, work this rote thing day after day after day. But this is a freedom that is abided to me by making these videos and talking about films that I love. So the internet is a gift and a curse all at the same time. But let's get back into Hackers. So that's our cast of characters, and basically what we find out through Hackers is one time this kid named Johnny kind of breaks into this because he is not an elite hacker yet, and so he wants to prove this to the group. So he hacks into a bank, first of all, and he's like, great, I threw $700 in a random Idaho street, and they're like, no, first of all, you don't hack banks over state lines, you're going to get caught by the FBI. You are clearly not elite, sir. And so he's going a little bit bigger. So he is hoping to hack into this supercomputer and get something in return. And he does come out with something, he doesn't know yet what it is. It's a garbage file, but it turns out that this garbage file is much more than that. It's a lot of data. It's a worm and a virus that is basically siphoning off money from this company that we later learn is the Plague's doing, and that he's basically going to capsize these ships if he doesn't get his money. So we then follow our characters as not only there's this back and forth between Acid Burn and Crash Override, this, kind of love that they've got brewing. They've got this, will they, won't they thing going on, which I actually do like. I actually like early Angelina Jolie a lot because I feel like she took risk in film. She did a lot of interesting stuff, whereas obviously she doesn't really act anymore, and I feel her later career, once she was with Brad Pitt, kind of went in a weird way, and I feel like all her choices became safe, and they weren't as interesting as they were when she was younger. So Hackers is at the top of my list as a fan of this film, and her early career, I really like what she does here. It's a kind of very stoic position that she's got, but she is a very strong female character in this film, and she is basically the leader of the pack until Crash Override becomes a thing here. But again, they have this, relationship that I do like here, where it is they are always trying to compete with each other, to one-up each other, to see who is the best. Anyway, they compete to be the best, and that is kind of the playful nature that they've all got here. Matthew Lillard's character is incredible here. I love Matthew Lillard. He is a horror icon, obviously, and I love his work in these weird kind of one-off movies that we got from him. And his character here is serial killer is no slouch either. It's weird, it's quirky, very 90s, and I love every minute of it. So basically, the story concludes where they have now got to hack into this company to prove their innocence because two of them have already been put in jail. They start messing with Gil, the guy who is kind of over the case for the FBI. They keep, declining his cards, signing him up for these sex things so he gets a bunch of calls to his work. They at one point kill him, theoretically in cyberspace. So they've got this going on, and that's the game that Acid and Crash Override are playing throughout the film, this back and forth. But that leads to the culmination where they need to break Johnny and Freak out because now they will essentially be blamed for this virus because the Plague has basically called. He tried to get Crash Override to help them initially, but he was like, nah, dog, I don't work well with others. They don't help each other, but they literally, now he calls him and he's like, hey, I'm going to put your mother away for life and she'll never be able to get out unless you help me. And Acid Burn does convince him later on to help him, and now they are on a quest to garner an army of other hackers so they can shut down this virus once and for all and prove their innocence. So that's what they do. They complete the hack. They free everybody. Serial killer gets with Razor and Blade, two Japanese dudes that run this like small show, two hackers. They succeed in their goal and they get free, and the plague is captured on a plane to Tokyo when he thinks he's free. So that is basically an overarching plot synopsis and run through of the film, but I want to get into the things that I really like about this movie that are very silly. The rollerblading is goofy. You know, the visualizations of going inside the computer are hilarious. Penn is in this movie from Penn and Teller. He's great. And there's just an aesthetic to this movie that we would never see today that is so of its time, and that's what I love about it. It is unabashedly 90s in every single way, from the music to the clothes to the computers, and all that just makes it feel great. It's a great movie to go back to. There's nothing to it. There's no agenda to this movie. There's no one way or another. It is very just a movie that you can sit down and enjoy and have fun with, which nowadays is far and few between. Everything has to be big or, you know, accomplish a certain goal, or it has a certain agenda. The agenda here was to hack the fucking planet, man. And they succeeded at that, man. Maybe we'll eventually get to that goal, but I unabashedly love Hackers. I think it is a fun movie. I'm not gonna say it's a good movie by any means, but I love every minute of it. It's dripping with 90s, and you know, we are at that future. We all have handles everywhere we go. So in conclusion, go watch Hackers. There's a new 4K out. It looks amazing. You know, hack the planet, man. Hack the planet. And I think you should pick this up whether you get this version or the other one. It looks amazing. It sounds great. There's a bunch of special features on here about the making of Hackers. And I just love all our characters here. And it ends on a good note. We hacked the planet, we saved ourselves, crash and burn, get together, and they will live their life hacking on as it will. But that's really all I've got. Thanks for stopping by and watching my review for Hackers. Let me know down below, what do you think about Hackers? Are you going to pick up the new 4K of Hackers? And what are other movies like this that you like, that you think I should cover in the future, that are along these lines? I'm going to link some videos for you at the end, as always, so you can continue your journey on the channel. If you like what I do here, consider becoming part of the collective here, where we talk about weird, obscure movies and sometimes some one-off movies like Hackers. And I'll talk to you guys in my next review.